It didn't start the way people would expect. There was no music swelling in the background. No dramatic first look. Just a Tuesday afternoon and the smell of burnt coffee in the corner shop across from my apartment building. I went there because it was close and because the Wi-Fi didn't cut out every 10 minutes. That's it. I was 20, technically in college, technically building a life. Most days I edited audio with my headphones on and told myself I liked being alone. I didn't. She came in around 4 most afternoons. I noticed because the bell above the door made a sharper sound when it opened slowly. She didn't look like someone trying to be noticed. Long navy coat. Hair pulled back. Not styled, just practical. A leather tote bag she carried like it had weight in it. Papers, probably. She'd order tea. Always tea. No sugar. The first time she looked at me, it wasn't flirtatious. It was observational. Like she was cataloging the room and I just happened to be in it. I looked away first. After a week or two, the barista didn't ask me what I wanted anymore. Cold brew, no syrup, she'd say, already pouring it. One afternoon, the woman in the navy coat was standing behind me when the barista said it. Cold brew, no syrup. The woman's voice came from just over my shoulder. Calm. Curious. You're consistent. I half turned. I guess. She gave a small smile. Not big. Not polite. Just there and gone. Consistency's underrated. I nodded like that meant something. My hands were already folding the edge of a napkin into smaller and smaller squares. She ordered her tea. After that, it was small things. She'd sit at the table near the window. I'd pretend not to notice. Sometimes she'd glance up when I laughed quietly at something in my headphones. Once, she asked what I was listening to. Just work stuff, I said. What kind of work? Sound editing. Podcasts. Ads. Boring things. She tilted her head slightly. Nothing's boring if someone cares enough to fix it. I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing. That became our rhythm. A few words. A pause. The kind of silence that isn't awkward exactly, just unfinished. I learned her name accidentally. The barista called out, Claire, when her tea was ready. Claire. It fit her. Clean. Uncomplicated. One day she sat across from me without asking. The shop was full. That's what I told myself. Do you mind? She said, already setting her bag down. No. It's fine. Up close, I could see faint lines at the corners of her eyes. Not hidden. Not erased. Just lived in. She wore a simple silver ring on her right hand. Not a wedding band. I noticed that before I meant to. You're here every day? She said. So are you. She smiled at that. I realized I didn't know how old she was until she mentioned her daughter in passing. She's applying to universities, Claire said, stirring her tea slowly. Thinks she knows everything. Oh, I did the math in my head without meaning to. 45. Maybe. I stared at my cup a little too long after that. It should have made things clear. Simple. Categorized. Instead, it made the air feel thinner. That night, back in my apartment, I opened my phone and scrolled through contacts I never texted. Old classmates. A girl who'd stopped replying months ago. I typed a message. Deleted it. Typed it again. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Claire. Barista gave me your number after you left your receipt on the table. I hope that's okay. A pause. You forgot your headphones. I stared at the message for a long time. I hadn't forgotten my headphones. They were around my neck. Another text came through. Or maybe you didn't. Either way, would you like them back tomorrow? The next afternoon, I went to the coffee shop earlier than usual. I told myself it was because I had work to finish. A deadline. A client who kept sending just one more tweak emails at midnight. It wasn't. She was already there. Claire looked up when the bell rang. Not quickly, just enough to confirm it was me. She had that same navy coat folded over the back of her chair, sleeves neatly tucked inside, like she was careful with things. You got my message, she said. I nodded. Yeah. I lifted my headphones slightly from around my neck. A small smile pulled at the corner of her mouth. So you didn't forget them? No. Good. I was worried I'd have to invent another excuse. She said it lightly, but something about the way her fingers tightened around her teacup made it feel less like a joke. I sat across from her this time, without waiting to be invited. The shop was quieter than usual. Late afternoon light, dust in the air. The kind of stillness that makes you aware of your breathing. You shouldn't give your number out like that, I said. To strangers. Her eyes held mine a second longer than necessary. You don't feel like a stranger. The sentence landed somewhere in my chest and didn't move. We didn't talk for a while after that. She stirred her tea even though the sugar had long dissolved. I folded another napkin into sharp, useless corners. My divorce finalized last year, she said suddenly. It wasn't dramatic. No heavy sigh. Just a fact placed carefully between us. Oh, I said. I'm sorry. She shrugged one shoulder. It was quiet. The ending. No scandal. Just two people who realized they were roommates. I tried to imagine her life before. A house. A husband. A daughter almost my age. I don't think I've ever lived with someone long enough to get tired of them, I said, and immediately wished I hadn't. She looked at me differently then. Not amused. Not pitying. Just aware. How old are you? She asked. 20. The word felt smaller out loud. She nodded slowly. My daughter is 22. There it was. The line we hadn't named. The air shifted, not colder, just heavier. I should probably stop sitting here, she said softly, though she didn't move. People notice things. I glanced around the cafe. No one was looking at us. Notice what? She met my eyes again. The wrong parts. I didn't answer, because I had noticed them too. The way her hand rested on the table, relaxed, elegant. The faint crease between her brows when she was thinking. The way she watched me like she was trying to decide something she already knew the answer to. That night, I lay in bed and imagined different versions of us. In one, we never spoke again. In another, she invited me upstairs to her apartment. 3rd floor, same building as mine, just across the hallway. In all of them, I felt both chosen and ashamed. The next day, it rained hard enough that the cafe windows blurred into watercolor. I came in soaked. She handed me a napkin without a word and reached across the table to brush a drop of water from my cheek. Her fingers paused there. Just for a second. It was barely a touch. But neither of us moved. She pulled her hand back slowly, as if returning something fragile. We should be careful, I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. It changed the week she stopped coming at 4. The first day, I told myself she was busy. Meetings. Life. Adult things that didn't revolve around coffee shops and accidental texts. The second day, I came anyway. By the third, I checked my phone more than I worked. No message. No explanation. I almost texted first. Are you okay? Deleted. Did I do something? Deleted. At 20, pride is thin but stubborn. On Friday, I walked into the building lobby instead of the cafe. Rain had left the floors slick, the air metallic. I saw her by the mailboxes, keys in hand. She looked surprised. Not unhappy. Just caught. Oh, she said. Hi. Hi. There was a pause that felt longer than it should have. Too much we weren't saying. Too much we'd already said without meaning to. You haven't been downstairs, I said. It came out more accusatory than I intended. I know. She glanced toward the elevator, then back at me. It was becoming a habit. And that's bad. Her mouth pressed into a line. Habits grow legs. I didn't understand what that meant, but I felt it. The elevator dinged. Neither of us moved to get on. I saw you the other night, she said quietly. Coming in at 1. I work late. I know. That I know did something to me. The way she said it, like she'd been listening for the door. Like she'd noticed. My daughter's visiting next week, she added. Casual tone. Not casual news. Oh, she's thinking about transferring schools. Needs space. From me. I nodded, even though the information felt heavier than it should have. She's closer to your age than mine, Claire said. Do you see the problem? I swallowed. We're just talking. Are we? A door opened down the hall. Mrs. Hahn from 2B stepped out with her small white dog. She looked at us. Not suspicious, just curious. But it was enough. Claire stepped back slightly. A small shift. A recalibration. I should go up, she said. Right? The elevator door slid open again, empty. She stepped inside this time. I followed before I could think about whether I should. The space was too small. Too warm. I could feel the heat from her coat, sleeve brushing mine. 3rd floor. The numbers lit up one by one. Tell me something, I said, staring at the metal doors instead of her. If I was older, would this feel different? She didn't answer immediately. The elevator hummed. Mechanical. Impersonal. Yes, she said finally. And that's the part that scares me. The doors opened. We didn't move right away. Her apartment door was across from mine. Same hallway light, flickering slightly at the edges. Familiar. Intimate. She turned to face me fully then. Closer than before. Close enough that I could see the faint lavender scent on her skin, something clean and restrained. You deserve uncomplicated, she said. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it wasn't true. And you deserve what? I asked. Her eyes searched mine like she was trying to memorize something. I don't know anymore. That was the most honest thing she'd said. A long second passed. Her hand lifted, hesitated, then rested lightly against my chest. Not pushing me away, not pulling me closer. Just there, feeling my heartbeat through a thin cotton shirt. I covered her hand with mine. Too instinctive, too fast. Her breath shifted. We were close enough that a small lean forward would have erased the space between us. I could see the question in her eyes. I felt it in my own. But neither of us moved. Not yet. It happened on a Sunday evening. Not in the hallway. Not in the cafe. On the roof. Our building roof wasn't romantic. No string lights. No skyline view worth photographing. Just concrete. A few metal chairs someone had dragged up years ago, and the hum of distant traffic. I went up there when my apartment felt too small. She was already there. Claire stood near the edge, arms folded loosely, hair pulled back but slightly undone by the wind. She didn't look surprised to see me this time. You come up here too? I asked. Sometimes. I sat on one of the metal chairs. It scraped loudly against the concrete. The sound felt intrusive. We didn't speak for a while. The sky was that in-between color, not blue, not fully dark. The kind of evening that makes everything feel temporary. My daughter met someone, she said eventually. I nodded like I knew what that meant. She talks about him the way. Claire stopped herself. A small exhale. The way I used to talk about her father. There was no bitterness in it. Just recognition. That's good, isn't it? I said. It is. But she didn't sound convinced. I watched her fingers, how they gripped her own sleeves, then loosened. She was holding something back. I could feel it. You've been distant, I said. She gave a soft, humorless smile. You're 20. You don't get to call me distant. I get to notice. That made her look at me. Really look. I saw you yesterday, she said quietly. Downstairs. With that girl. I blinked. What girl? The one with the red scarf. Laughing at something you said. I almost smiled. She was asking about freelance work. That's it. She nodded, but her jaw tightened slightly. The wind picked up, brushing a strand of hair across her cheek. I stood without thinking and stepped closer, reaching out to tuck it behind her ear. My fingers barely touched her skin. She closed her eyes for half a second. You can't do that, she whispered. Why? Her voice didn't rise. It thinned. Because I don't trust myself when you do. There it was. Not polished. Not measured. Raw. I swallowed. My hand dropped slowly to my side. I don't want to be a distraction, I said. Or something you regret. She laughed softly at that. Not amused, just tired. You're not a distraction. A pause. That's the problem. The words hung between us, exposed. She stepped closer this time. Close enough that our shoes nearly touched. I could see the faint crease between her brows again, the one that appeared when she was deciding something difficult. I spent 20 years being careful, she said. Responsible. Appropriate. And then you look at me like, she stopped. Like what? Her throat moved as she swallowed. Like I'm not finished. The confession felt bigger than the rooftop. I didn't know what to do with that kind of honesty. You're not, I said. It came out steady, more certain than I felt. Her hand lifted again, hovering near my face, not quite touching. The air between us felt charged, thin. The city below hummed, indifferent. If we cross this line, she murmured, it doesn't stay small. I know. We were standing so close now that I could feel her breath shift against my mouth. Not touching, just there. She searched my face one last time, as if asking for permission, or forgiveness. And in the quiet space before anything happened, before something irreversible chose us, she whispered, Are you ready to carry what this becomes? She didn't kiss me. That's what I told myself Monday morning when I woke up too early, replaying the rooftop over and over like a track I couldn't edit cleanly. She didn't kiss me, but she could have. That felt worse. I went downstairs at 4. No navy coat. No tea. No Claire. I waited anyway, headphones around my neck, cold brew sweating onto the table. I kept glancing at the door every time the bell rang. 5 o'clock. 5:30. I told myself she was busy. Daughter visiting. Life rearranging itself back into something appropriate. On Tuesday, I didn't go at 4. I went at 3, like I was trying to trick the universe. She wasn't there either. By Wednesday, I stopped pretending it didn't matter. I saw her car in the parking lot that night. Lights on in her apartment. Shadows moving behind the curtains. 2 silhouettes. Her daughter. The reminder sat heavy. I almost went upstairs. I even stood in the hallway for a second, staring at her door. The same door I'd stood in front of just days ago, her breath close enough to change mine. I didn't knock. Instead, I went back inside my apartment and opened my laptop. I edited audio without hearing it. Around 11, my phone buzzed. Claire. My chest tightened before I opened it. We need to slow this down. That was it. No explanation. No softness around the edges. I stared at the words until they stopped looking like language. I typed back. Did I do something? Deleted. Is this about your daughter? Deleted. I can handle complicated. Deleted. The typing bubble appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, I saw you on the roof that night. I frowned at the screen. After I went inside, another message followed. You stayed up there a long time. Alone. I remembered. I'd sat in one of those metal chairs after she left. Head tilted back, letting the night cool me down. I needed to think, I typed. The bubble came back quickly this time. That's what I'm afraid of. I didn't understand. Then another message. You're at the beginning of your life. I don't want to become the reason you shrink it. It hit differently than I expected. Not rejection, protection. And somehow that felt worse. Over the next few days, her routine changed completely. No cafe. No accidental elevator rides. If we crossed paths in the hallway, it was brief. Polite. Morning. Hi. She kept a measured distance. Just enough to make everything that had happened feel almost imagined. One evening I heard laughter through her door, her daughter's voice, light and bright. It didn't sound like someone whose mother was standing on rooftops questioning her restraint. I thought about the red scarf girl Claire had mentioned. I almost texted her, just to prove something to myself. I didn't. Instead, I opened my messages with Claire and typed, I don't feel like I'm shrinking. I stared at it for a long time. Then I added, I feel like I'm waking up. My thumb hovered over send. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused, like life forgot to finish the sentence. In the morning, I went downstairs at 4. Her seat by the window was empty, and my message was still unsent. I didn't plan it. I told myself I was just taking out the trash. That's how I ended up standing in the hallway at 9:40 p.m., holding a half-full garbage bag and staring at her door like it might open on its own. It didn't. I could hear faint movement inside. A cabinet closing. Water running. Normal sounds. Ordinary life. I knocked before I could overthink it. 3 soft taps. Footsteps approached. A pause on the other side. Then the door opened. Claire stood there barefoot, sleeves rolled up, hair loose like she'd given up trying to keep it together for the night. For a second, neither of us spoke. Her daughter's voice floated from somewhere deeper in the apartment. A TV murmuring. You shouldn't be here, she said quietly. I know. But she didn't close the door. I didn't send it, I said. Send what? The message. A flicker of something crossed her face. Relief. Disappointment. I couldn't tell. Oh. We stood there in the doorway, the hallway light humming above us. I wasn't sure if I was being brave, I continued, or selfish. She leaned lightly against the doorframe. Guarded, but listening. Probably both, she said. I nodded. Yeah. A beat of silence. I don't want you to protect me from something I'm choosing, I said. My voice wasn't loud, just steady. And I don't want to be something you survive. Her jaw tightened slightly. She looked down at her hands, then back at me. You think this is easy for me? She asked. No. My daughter is 10 feet away, she said. My entire life is built on being the responsible one. The adult. The example. I'm not asking you to stop being that. She studied my face like she was searching for immaturity, for recklessness, for proof that I'd regret this. I don't want to wake up one day and realize I took something from you, she said softly. Time. Simplicity. A chance at someone uncomplicated. You don't get to decide what I lose, I replied. My hands were shaking slightly, so I tucked them into my pockets. Or what I gain. That landed. The hallway felt smaller now, more intimate. The distance between us measured in inches instead of rules. I don't need you to promise me forever, I said. I just need you to stop pretending this isn't real. Her breath caught almost imperceptibly. It's real, she whispered. The words were barely audible, but they were there. A door inside the apartment closed. A reminder. Claire stepped outside fully this time, pulling the door gently behind her until it clicked shut. We were alone in the hallway again. She looked tired. Not weak. Just exposed. I'm scared, she admitted. I nodded. Me too. That was the truth of it. Not fantasy. Not rebellion. Just two people standing in a hallway, aware of the cost. She reached for my hand this time. No hesitation. Her fingers threaded through mine like she'd already rehearsed it in her head. It wasn't dramatic. It was warm. If we do this, she said, we go slowly. We don't hide, but we don't rush. Okay. And if it starts hurting more than it heals, we say so. She searched my face one last time, as if giving me a chance to back out. I didn't. She squeezed my hand gently. Okay, she said. And for the first time since the rooftop, the silence between us didn't feel like something we were avoiding. It felt chosen. Time didn't explode around us. It adjusted. Her daughter moved into a small apartment across town by the end of the semester. There were tense dinners before that. Long conversations behind closed doors. I wasn't invited into those. I wasn't supposed to be. Claire handled it the way she handled everything. Calmly, deliberately. No dramatic announcements. Just truth laid out gently, like setting down fragile glass. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't a scandal either. We didn't rush into anything cinematic. No sudden merging of lives. We kept our apartments. Kept our routines. At 8:47 a.m. She'd leave for work with her hair still slightly damp, balancing a travel thermos in one hand and her leather tote in the other. I'd be coming back from an early walk or a late edit, black coffee in hand instead of cold brew now. She switched back to tea. We'd pass each other in the hallway and exchange that small, private look, the one that said, still here. Sometimes she'd text me around 4. Coffee, even though we both knew she meant tea. The cafe felt different now. Not forbidden, just ours in a quieter way. We didn't sit across from each other anymore like we were bracing for impact. We sat side by side near the window, knees almost touching. Once, the barista asked, together. Claire didn't hesitate. Yes. It was such a small word. But I felt it land. There were hard days. Days she questioned the age gap out loud. Days I wondered if people saw us and made assumptions. We didn't pretend that didn't exist. But it stopped feeling like a line we were about to cross. It became something we were already standing on. One Sunday, months later, we went back up to the roof. Same metal chairs. Same concrete. The city still indifferent. She leaned into me this time without hesitation. Her head rested lightly against my shoulder. I felt older in ways that had nothing to do with numbers. Do you regret it? She asked quietly. No. She nodded, as if she'd expected that answer but needed to hear it anyway. I don't feel finished anymore, she said. I smiled. Good. There was laughter downstairs somewhere. A car alarm in the distance. Life moving forward without asking permission. I realized something then. What we had wasn't reckless. It wasn't fantasy. It was deliberate. We chose it slowly. Over coffee rings and hallway pauses. Over unsent messages and rooftop almosts. Over the fear of shrinking and the risk of becoming more. She still folds her sleeves when she's nervous. I still crease napkins into tiny squares without realizing it. Some things don't change. But when she reaches for my hand now, she doesn't hesitate. And neither do I. I was 20. She was 45. Everything changed. Not all at once, not dramatically. Just enough. And sometimes, at exactly 8:47 in the morning, When we pass each other in that narrow hallway and she brushes her fingers against mine like it's the most natural thing in the world, I think this is what choosing looks like. Did this story stay with you? What kind of quiet, real love stories do you want to hear next?